Is that one of the most common things you see in your class is, a struggle with adaptability from a mindset perspective, or is there what do you see as one of the most
Mm,
common struggles from your students in class?
it depends on the class. I would say at the lower levels, the hardest thing that I feel like, and these are sometimes self-imposed on students or from students, but I think the hardest thing that we see is more of self-induced obstacles.
Mm,
Things like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or they're dealing with some other issue that makes it harder for them than others, maybe. That's something that we see at the lower levels. I think as you mature as um, as a shooter, then there's new obstacles that you come into contact with, and I think the two biggest ones are, well, actually, I guess I could throw a third one in there. The first one is complacency. You get kind
mm,
of caught in this cycle of good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
mhm.
And it kind of lends itself to like not putting the work in anymore. The work that you put in to get good, you no longer feel necessary, or you don't feel like you have to keep doing that.
Mhm.
And maybe some people can get away with that. There's no such thing, as far as I'm concerned, as a natural born athlete. There's somebody that's disciplined and trained, and that's the difference. Um, the second problem that we see with more of a mature shooter is going to be um, their lack of, and this can tie in with complacency, but it's a little bit different, but their lack of consistency. They get to that same level, and the to get to that level, whatever they deemed to be good enough, required them to be consistent. And as we find ourselves in that plateau, we start to recognize that I don't have to put the same amount of work in to get the same outcome, that I can kind of coast a little bit. And that lends itself, that's the complacency coming out. And so when
Mhm.
that does, is that then breaks down your training regime to the point where now your frequency of training becomes more sporadic, or almost nil, or non-existent. And so
Mhm.
that kind of becomes an issue. And then the third thing, I think, is when we um, lose like the appetite for progress, or progress maybe not
Not
be the right
hungry
word.
anymore.
Right, there becomes kind of like you're that fire that burned inside of you in the beginning, early stages, maybe has kind of subsided a little bit, and they're
Mhm.
just not quite willing to put in, because at a certain point too, you start to recognize how much energy it takes, how much time it takes, how much of your resources it takes to continue to progress to the next level. It doesn't it doesn't get any easier. Like everybody that wants to be at, we define 5 levels of skill: the beginner, basic, intermediate, advanced, and the elite. And everybody that wants to be an advanced level shooter, they say that until they recognize how much time and energy is required to stay at that level, not just to get to the level, but
Mhm.
to stay at the level.
Mhm.
And that's why we focus a lot more of our programs on the intermediate level side of the house, because that's more realistic for the average person that is not willing to invest that extra level. And then of course there's a level on top of that, which is the elite level, and that's a whole other ball game. But just trying to get to the advanced level and stay at the advanced level, I think sometimes is more than people are actually willing to pay.
Mhm.